welcome back to another video. Today's video, as you saw in the thumbnail, the 5 best Deep Space Nine episodes of all time. We're going to basically do this. I'll say my 5, he'll say 5, I'll say 4, and down to 1. So 5 is the 5th best, and number 1 will be the very best Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode of all time. Alright, and I have notes here because I can't really remember anything. Number 5. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 2, Episode 8, Necessary Evil. I loved this episode. The part about it I loved was the flashback, which is where half of it took place, and I'm looking at my notes right now, I can't really remember much about it, but there's some sort of deal with this person getting murdered and suspects.
Dude, it's a flashback of Odo's first investigation. Right?
With Kira, and then what I remember,
yeah.
And then Kira ends up she did kill the dude or whatever, which is what makes it, you're like, what? It's Kira? You expected it to be Dukat or something? But no, Kira actually killed him because it was something like he attacked her or whatever, but, I think. But, a flashback, there's the other part about that with Quark and the weird thing about the box where he got electrocuted and felt. I didn't like that.
Well, that was the comic relief, right? Where Quark almost dies. Like, lots of people don't like Quark. I think he's kind of cool.
Well,
And then his brother Rom just wants him to die, so he inherits the bar.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he realizes Quark's alive, and he's like, that's not really a good thing.
Yep.
All right, your number 5.
My number 5. Okay, my number 5 is What You Leave Behind, which is episode 25
I thought of putting
of season 7. The reason I like that is because Kai Wynn dies. She's a really good bad character. From the moment they introduce her, you just want her to die because she's so crafty and conniving and evil. She does, definitely in a surprising way. She tries to bring the Pa Wraiths back to life and actually succeeds, and then they reward her by killing her and making Gul Dukat essentially the devil, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of religious tones to that, part of the plot stream in Deep Space Nine with the prophets and all that.
Yeah, the very last episode of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I like that because you didn't see that coming, right?
Yeah.
You didn't see Dukat coming back as like literally the devil. So, that's my 5.
All right. Ooh, number 4, Far Beyond the Stars. I thought of putting this higher up on my list, but it's really not. It's not a fun episode. It's not fun enough. But it's just interesting. And
which one is it? I don't remember.
Okay. Right. Season 6, episode 13. It's the one where Cisco has these weird memories where he thinks he's in a different time, like in the 20s or whatever, when racism was a big thing.
Oh,
and he's a writer.
Science fiction writer.
And he's writing Deep Space Nine.
That's a good one.
But he puts himself as the main, obviously, as Cisco, the captain, and nobody likes that because he's black. And that was a nice, touchy episode. I really liked that.
I forgot about that one. You're right. That's has a really good message, really good theme, and you get to see all these other characters that are normally all in makeup and costume, like
Quark for a second there.
And Quark. You get to see them all, and Odo. You get to see them all without their makeup, which is pretty cool.
Quark was especially the one who threw me off for some reason. I was like, wait.
It's because you didn't know him from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, okay.
All right. So my number 4. Well, my number 4 was Necessary Evil, which we already covered. So the only thing that I'll add to that is that it's really poignant to see that Odo, who has trusted Kira the entire time he's known her, these sort of, I think it's 5 years or so at this point, and he has to reevaluate his relationship when he realizes that essentially she misled him, if not outright lied to him, this entire time. So
Necessary Evil is a great episode.
All right.
Okay, number 3. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 5, Favor the Bold. This is like the Dominion War. This and Sacrifice of Angels, also on my list, are the Dominion War episodes. And, I mean, there's not a whole lot else to say. I think some of the people are like trapped on a Cardassian prison or whatever, and but DS9 gets taken away, and yeah, it's basically that whole story of trying to get it back unfolding, and I'll talk more about that in Sacrifice of Angels.
Well, it's a big moment, right? Because the whole series to that point is focused on, the Federation control of this space station, and now it's gone.
Now it's not under Federation control.
Good one. All right, my number three. My number three is Rocks and Shoals, which is episode 2 of season 6. And I really like that because it explores the dynamic between the Jem'Hadar and the Vorta really closely, and you get a real sense for the Jem'Hadar and how just really committed they are to the to that hierarchy of who's in charge. Even when the first in this series, even when he knows that the Vorta is essentially playing him, and is gonna essentially sacrifice all of the Jem'Hadar so that this Vorta can live.
Still goes with it,
And he
that
still
is the
goes
order of
with it.
things.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really interesting message.
Yeah, it definitely explores the Jem'Hadar. But Rocks and Shoals, apart from that, it wasn't really a great episode. I mean, it was fun, a little bit, but it didn't. It wasn't.
You don't like mine. You don't like my number 3. All right, fine.
Number 3, I might have put that as number 10 if we were doing a top 10, but it's probably not even.
That video would be too long. All right, what's your number 2?
This is already getting too long. Like I said, number 2, Sacrifice of Angels. This is where, basically, I think it's where Cisco is in the Defiant leading a suicide mission to take over Deep Space Nine, while Kira and Rom or whatever are trying to deactivate these mines, and it's crazy. It's intense. It's very, very intense, and it's a fun episode.
Yeah, and you have to remember in that one, Rom gets thrown in jail, and so it's Quark who has to step up and continue the work on sabotage.
And actually be useful for
right?
once.
Quark gets a lot of crap for not helping or not doing anything altruistic or doing anything for anybody else.
He pretty much doesn't up.
But he
until
does
that
there.
point.
He steps up. All right. My number 2 is by Inferno's Light. That's episode 15 of season 5.
Okay.
So this is in very much in the middle of the Dominion War. So we've got Bashir and Worf and General Martog.
Oh, that's the one where Worf keeps.
They end up on this prison asteroid, essentially, that the Jem'Hadar are running. And there's a little bit of an aspect of it like the old, like an old movie like The Great Escape, where somebody's trying to get out of a Nazi prison camp type of thing. So it's kind of interesting. You get to see a side of Garrick that you don't normally see, which is this vulnerable. Essentially, he's claustrophobic, and he has to work in this very tight space to try to, send a signal outside of the facility and contact their runabout, which they stash somewhere. But the part that I really like, and I think this is probably the best or my favorite episode with Worf in it, because in order to buy them essentially the time to try to escape, Worf continually volunteers himself into this essentially a fight to the death. So as part of this way of keeping control over the prisoners, and also as a bit of sport, the Jem'Hadar require somebody from this from their cell, and they've got 5 or 6 people in there, has to come out and fight another prisoner or one of the Jem'Hadar soldiers actually. And so Worf is fighting day after day after day, and he's just getting so ground down and beaten, right? But you get to see this tenacity that he has, and in the end, it's the Jem'Hadar first, the captain, right? Who says, "No, I'm going to fight Worf this time," and essentially he has Worf beat. Like he could kill Worf, but he recognizes in Worf, and he actually, he verbalizes what you're saying. He says, I can kill this Klingon, but I can't beat him. So essentially, I yield.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It just shows a side of the Jem'Hadar, again, like that other episode, the Rocks and Shoals, where there's a real strong honor component to the Jem'Hadar, but at the end it doesn't get them anywhere because they've still bought into this power structure. So what's the first reward for being all noble? He gets killed. Yeah. Right? The Vorta orders him killed in front of everybody. So really, really kind of brutal, but interesting. Okay.
All right.
Number one.
I'm putting money on the fact that we probably have the same number 1. Star
No
Trek
way.
Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 19, In the Pale Moonlight.
Oh, that is my number 1 too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
you say
In the
why
Pale
then also.
Moonlight is so good. So basically, I think the plot is they have this death roster, and every single day names go up on it for people dying in the Jem'Hadar. I mean, in the Dominion War with the Jem'Hadar, right? But so Sisko, he's tired of this, and he wants to get the Romulans into the war, and he goes on this wild goose chase and just betrays people and goes against everything in the Federation just to get the Romulans into the war, and he doesn't even care if anyone dies. He's willing to take tons of sacrifices and basically ditch the Prime Directive for an entire episode to get there.
Yeah, I think it goes beyond the Prime Directive. There's lots of Prime Directive violating episodes across all series where, what are the consequences? Well, you've kind of messed up the development of this society, but oh well, Here, essentially, I mean, Sisko's a party to murder. I mean, he just kind of hangs all of his, moral reasoning just kind of out the window because he's so convinced that the ends justify his means. And, it's funny because he enlists Garrick to help him, and Garrick is probably my favorite character in Deep Space Nine. Okay?
And then Garrick.
And what happens... So Sisko thinks that he's going to trick the Romulan diplomat or ambassador into believing this fake recording that they have showing that the Cardassians and the Dominion together are going to invade Romulus, right? It's totally bogus. The Romulan diplomat, he sees through it. He calls them on it as bogus, right? And then as he's leaving, as he's leaving to, kind of fed up with them all, his ship explodes, right? And Sisko can't figure it out. What's going on? But it has the desired effect because the Romulans do come in on the side of the Federation and the Klingons, and you find out that Garrick is the one that blew up that ship.
And then Sisko goes in there and punches him across the table. That's my favorite scene.
Yeah, Sisko gets all mad at him, and then Garrick turns the tables on him and says, "You knew by inviting me, you invited me for a reason, and that is because you knew I would do things, right, to get this job done that you couldn't even face. But you knew that this could happen, and Sisko backs off because he realizes that he's right.
It's true. He just brought Garrick in to basically do the dirty work he wasn't willing to do himself.
So it's just a really powerful sort of mortal quandary theme where you're forced to consider, at what point do the ends justify the means? Well, I didn't expect that we'd have our number 1 as the same.
I kind of had a feeling.
Because we did our lists completely independently.
But In the Pale Moonlight, since I knew that you didn't have it on your list until then, I was like, oh yeah, maybe 3 or 4. But since you didn't have it on there until then, I was like, okay, then it's gonna have to be number 1 because I knew it was gonna be on the list.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see what the viewers think. Right? They can comment and agree or disagree.
Yeah. What's your list for the 5 best Star Trek Deep Space Nine episodes of all time? Tell me in the comments. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe and share this video with your friends if you happen to have any. And yeah. See you guys in another video. How should I end that? Well, it's ended by now.
I think it's done.
Yeah.
You just have to push that little button now on the back of the camera.
Oh man, I so need to make bloopers and just have all this in there.
Alright. Cool, there you go. What kind of do you need any help with the thumbnail, or are you good?
I'm probably just gonna pull some pictures off of the internet because